My name is Barbara, by the way, and I am in Boulder, Colorado, at the main office, the main EFTA office here in the US. So we can get started. So a lot of you probably already know a little bit about our organization and how World Migratory Bird Day started. So we coordinated EFTA, coordinated International Migratory Bird Day, or IMBD, from 2007 to 2017. And then in 2017, we met with partners to the east, the Convention on Migratory Species and the African Eurasian Waterbird Agreement, to start a new collaboration for the benefit of migratory bird conservation across the globe. So we started out just doing the Western Hemisphere, but now we expanded our collaboration with the Eastern Hemisphere as well to work on bird conservation across the globe. After a lot of meetings and a formal signing, then International Migratory Bird Day became World Migratory Bird Day, and that was in 2007. So World Migratory Bird Day is a global campaign that highlights birds and their flyways across the globe. We use three political flyways to highlight the importance of working across borders to conserve birds. So these areas are highlighted here, outlined in green, yellow, and blue in the map. And they are political flyways that focus more on the countries that share Migratory Bird Day in that region. More so, the geographical commonality of the birds rather than the biology of the migratory birds themselves. In EFTA, as I've said, we focus on the Western Hemisphere. So we coordinate efforts for this campaign from Canada to Argentina, North, Central, and South America, as well as in the Caribbean. So, why celebrate through World Migratory Bird Day? So, like I said, this is a global campaign, and the heart of the campaign is to connect people with nature and migratory birds and their conservation. We share messages about their conservation. We try to have one unified conservation message that we can use across, the hemisphere and across the globe, for all types of diverse audiences, from kids to adults, from educators to people who have never gone birding or anything before. We try to involve people and communities in conservation and education, and also get them involved with each other, as well as motivate conservation actions, either by sharing the message or taking simple but effective actions that we can all take to keep our common birds common. And like I said, we're trying to have one voice, one unified voice, for the birds and their conservation. So, World Migratory Bird Day, the purpose of this program is basically to interconnect the Western Hemisphere from us, from our point of view, at least from EFTA, which we work in the Western Hemisphere. So, the purpose is to interconnect people, communities, organizations, all for the same beneficial goal, the conservation of migratory birds, using various educational resources. Then share these programs and activities in social networks, among our friends, families, and other organizations to motivate people to do the same. So we have a lot of easily accessible resources that are free and downloadable on the website. You can also buy a lot of materials in our shop, and we are also here as individuals to help everyone and anyone who is interested in hosting an event or learning more about the program. So we have done a survey a couple years ago, and we talked with teachers and students about the importance to incorporate conservation education into school curricula and in general too, as part of kids especially education. And you can see here that the majority of teachers said that at least between moderately and very important, they think it is to include conservation education within the school curricula. And you can see the same sort of response from the students themselves. So, like the teachers, they also said that they think it's very important to include this kind of education, this kind of curricula, that talks about conservation and environmental problems within their school programs. We also asked some questions about when they think students are most receptive. When I say students, I'm gonna say kids as well, because this doesn't necessarily have to be in a school, in a classroom concept, but any concept when you're working with kids. And the response from the teachers' perspectives was that they think around middle school age, the kids are most responsive. They're least responsive when they're a little older, which was interesting because the students themselves think that it is better to start learning about conservation when they're older, because they have more of the ability to, as individuals, to actually take actions necessary to work towards conservation. So this was another survey that Dr. Leo Douglas he's a professor and teacher in Jamaica. So they did a study with a group of students that had conservation education in their classroom or other programs outside of school. And you can see the line here, the green line on top is the experimental group, which is the students who did get the education about birds and birds conservation. And the blue line on the bottom is a group of students who did not get that education, who weren't exposed to conservation education. So you can see the big difference between when you ask these students a questions like how many types of birds are found in Jamaica, and the amount of students who could answer that question. The students who had that education, that exposure to the conservation education, as well as like another question like how important are birds for Jamaica and its people. You can also see a big spike in the number of students who answered that it is very important. Birds are very important for Jamaica and the people. You can see the difference in responses from a group of students that had exposure to that type of education and students who hadn't. So, why do we do this though? Why do birds matter? Why is their conservation important? So, they first of all provide many, many benefits for both humans and nature. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of our focal species from this year to use as examples. The birds are great insect and small mammal controllers. So the barn owl, for example, they help control destructive rodent populations among other small mammals. The American kestrel, which is another focal species from this year, they're actually used in areas. In agricultural areas to help control insect pests that damage crops, so that not only protects the plants, but it also potentially reduces the use of pesticides, because that's kind of an integrated a biological method of pest control. So they are very good for both nature and humans. They offer a lot of benefits, a lot of ecological services. The but another reason why birds are so important and their conservation is important, they play a huge role in pollination. Here you have another focal species that we have this year, the Calliope hummingbird. And hummingbirds can actually visit and pollinate more than 1,000 flowers in one single day. They also play a very important role in seed dispersal. Here you have another focal species, the yellow-breasted chat, and they play a very important role in dispersing seeds as they eat a variety of fruits and berries. So they help us with dispersion of seeds and trees and plants and flowers. uh, they are also great indicators of environmental change, not only climate change, but any sort of environmental change and environmental health. You have the Arctic tern, who goes all over the continent, for example. So he's a great indicator of not only changes in marine ecosystems. That's a seabird that goes from the Arctic area to Antarctica. So they travel a large range of habitats. So they have shown, a lot of studies have shown that they can be used as a great indicator of changes in marine ecosystems, as well as the impacts of climate change, as they live on the Antarctic ice for at least a third of their annual life cycle. So there also birds can also be used as artistic inspiration. They are all for their beauty and their class, and a lot of people are very into painting, drawing, printing birds. Here you have a picture from 1832 from 1830. So you can imagine that for a long, long time, people and artists have used birds as a source of inspiration. One fun fact is even Mozart has used birds as a source of inspiration. The Song of the European Starling actually inspired the third movement of Mozart's Piano Concerto in G. So that's a fun fact that birds have even inspired Mozart in his artistic abilities. So, what is it that makes our program accessible and so I think all around good for a diverse group of people? We offer a variety of activities that teach people about conservation of migratory birds. Um, for example, we our programs motivate and inspire lots of out in the field activities. You can talk about when, how, and when to see birds, how to use binoculars, how to use a field guide. So these are all things that can be incorporated into our programs. You can use our materials for exhibition, also for art exhibitions. We talked about it in the last in our last webinar, how our art is a very important part of our program. And a lot of our educational materials incorporate not only all that information but also the art. We have a lot of resources like the conservation tree that we do have available on the resources in our website that talk about different steps that we all take to help protect migratory birds. We have our posters every year. We have our beautiful posters with information about our focal species of the year, of general information about migratory bird conservation. And they're also just very nice, beautiful, artistic posters that can be used for display. Here you have, it was in Mexico. They did a display of all of our posters throughout the years, which is very nice because you can not only appreciate the art but also go back and look at all of the different conservation themes that we've covered throughout the years. um, Another activities that we offer, and all of these activities are in the yearly organization or organizers guide, as well as under resources in our website. So this is another activity that we have where we act as birds, and they'll learn how to take measurements as you would do when you're bending a bird. So you take their measurements. In the back there you can see a poster with different wingspans of different birds, and kids can compare their quote unquote wingspan to that as different species of birds. You can also use World Migratory Bird Day events as fundraising opportunities, as you can bring together people that have the same ideals and the same goals for the benefit of your organization, or it could be for to get funding to acquire seedlings to do reforestation in some areas, some habitat restoration, different ecological restoration projects, like I said, like planting seedlings or doing cleanups. All of those things can be incorporated in World Migratory Bird Day events. And we do know that the dates of Migratory Bird Day this year are May 9th and October 10th. And the reason why these dates were chosen is because by May, most of the migratory birds are back in the US and Canada, and that's why usually we have a spring celebration in the US and Canada. And they can be observed and celebrated, but can no longer be seen in Latin America. So that's why we also have a second date in October, when festivals can be held in Latin America and the Caribbean, where migratory birds would be at the time. We do know that these times are kind of difficult for a lot of us, and COVID-19 concerns maybe interrupting a lot of our spring plans, a lot of our plans to host events around. We had a lot of people that had events planned for April and May, and a lot of those are being canceled because of concerns with COVID. But we do want to remind you that a lot of migratory birds remain at your sites for much of the summer. They don't just come and go. So there's not really a specific day that you need to celebrate Migratory Bird Day. We say every day is birthday, and before they begin on their journey, they can still gonna be hanging out in their breeding sites for a little bit. But you do have some options. You can host a virtual event. We have been kind of adapting as well with the times and the concerns with the situation. That's why we've been doing these webinars to kind of keep people motivated and continue to talk about the message that we're trying to relay to the public. We've also been doing on Thursdays the story time, which is more focused on kids, young kids that are stuck at home that can go to school. A lot of parents are having, a lot of difficulty trying to find different ways to entertain them and keep them busy and also continue to learn. So we've been doing a lot of story times on Thursdays. We have one this week, which is going to be about seabirds. We're going to tell a beautiful story by an Argentinian author about an endemic seabird species, an endemic gull species from Argentina. So do tune in for that. We'll just sent out a newsletter today with information on how to register for it. We will have, as we always do, a Spanish session as well as an English session. Can everyone hear me? I'm just seeing some questions here where, okay, you do hear now. Good, good. So we are trying to, like I said, adapt with the times and do these sort of virtual programs. We will have more materials available. Do contact us and ask us more for more information about how to host a virtual event. You can also postpone your program for a later date. You can either highlight the importance of migratory bird days, of migratory birds as they nest and raise youngs this summer, where you are, or you can highlight your site, or you can wait and celebrate um, their fall migrations back in October. And honestly, at this point, we have World Migratory Bird Day celebrations any time of the year, every month of the year, because birds have their own calendar. They don't follow our schedule, so different species of birds will be in different places everywhere. And you can also still go out as long as you are practicing social distancing. You can still go out. It's definitely recommended that we all continue to go out and go birding or just go, take a hike and enjoy nature a little bit, especially in these times we're all cooped up at home, and it could get a little a little crazy. But this is our information. We will be doing these webinars. The next one will be about different activities that you can have and for your event, and we will be adapting those to stuff that we can do online. So do tune in same time on October 14th for our third World Migratory Bird Day webinar. We're going to be talking, like I said, about activities that we could do, and we will be adapting those to be able to offer them virtually. And do tune in this Thursday as well. For depending on your time zone, it will be at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time for the beautiful story that we will do about seabirds and the crab eating gull. So, if you guys have any questions, you can write them up in the question box, or let me see here if anyone has their hand raised. You can also have the microphone and ask questions. But thank you, Daniela, Ana Laura. Thank you all for being here. And this recording will be available as a link for anybody who wasn't able to be here. And the PowerPoint presentation as well. I will be sending that link. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future webinars or activities, do send us an email at info@environmentamericas.org. You can go on our website where you can find all of these resources that I mentioned under resources. And just if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, You can also send us an email saying that you want to be subscribed, that you want to subscribe, and we will be sending weekly reminders of all of these activities that we've been doing, and taking questions and concerns and suggestions from everyone and anyone that has anything to say or ask. Um, does anyone want to say a word? Shelda, do you want to say a word?
Yes, hi. Hi everyone. I just wanted to chime in that here in the Caribbean, we always have our World Migratory Bird Day in October. It's the second Saturday of October. And the reason we chose that is not only because our migrants are starting to come in all of August and September, but we also have hurricane season peaking in September. So we are not we're not strangers to natural events, and we arrange our festivals around it because we cannot not celebrate World Migratory Bird Day. We need to find a way, the best way for us to send that message, as you were mentioning, a whole unified message about the need that birds have for their habitat and clean water and clean habitats. Um, so we need to still give that message, and that's why we're here, because you have no now we have an idea of how we have contaminated everything. With the COVID situation, we've seen how many ecosystems are going back to their natural states, and how we've affected that. So
Silver
it's our
lining.
fault. It's our Yes, it's our responsibility to help out um, ecosystems and organisms like birds. So not to not to be gloomy with this COVID situation, but we can actually take advantage of some of the tools we have, like these virtual tools. Everybody's moving towards virtual tools, so let's do that. Let's join the wave and do that. And we're here to help you host your virtual event, and we're here to keep on sending this message. So thank you, gracias
Thank you,
for
Shelda. Thank
being here
you.
with us today.